Hey, good morning, friends. I'm in the car, but I will not be holding my phone, so you don't have that to worry about. In fact, you probably won't even get to see my face very much, but I wanted to just get on and share some thoughts this morning I had about fighting for our children. One of the things that crossed my mind was, or one of the things I'm experiencing is observing my children observe me while observing themselves. And what I mean by that is watching them trying to figure out how they want to live their life and what they think is safe and comfortable compared to taking risk and being uncomfortable now so that they can be comfortable later. If that makes sense. And so I'm having a dialogue with one of my children about an opportunity that could create an experience for them that could completely be the catalyst they need to move out of their shell into a space of opportunity, prosperity, self-awareness, self-acknowledgement, and a complete confidence booster. But I think what I've seen is there is a level of fear that's shared there that they have. And because of that fear, they're like, no, I'm not sure that I want to do that thing you want me to do. And, as a modern father, unquote, whatever that means, I would like for them to be agreeable with the suggestions that I make, seeing that I don't try to boss their lives. I'm just not the type of parent. Bossing their life around doesn't really do much for me. I don't see any value in doing that. But I also understand that it's my job or our job to fight for them for their dreams, right? Because here's what I see. I see an opportunity that I know they need based on history and based on probability that at a minimum, exposure would give them something deeper to think about that may be a catalyst for their success. But because fear is at the top of their mind about exposure, internal exposure, or being vulnerable around other people. What's up, Dean? I see you, brother. Being vulnerable around other people, they're hesitant to embrace that, right? So what sense does it make in my mind to have so much potential and be a child yet afraid to try? Like, what's happened in our society and in our culture that it's more important to feel safe and secure than to take risk? When I was a kid, I was thinking about this the other day. When I was a kid, I wasn't the perfect kid by any stretch of imagination, but I remember doing things like running to the fence and doing this flip upside down over the top of the fence. And I was thinking to myself, where did that simple childhood boldness go? Where did that ability to take risk? Yeah, I could have broke my neck, broke my wrist, but those things were irrelevant. What was prevalent was finding a way to have fun. I mean, we didn't have video games in my house. We couldn't afford it. So we had to go outside and play. And I did not have a play yard out front. We had a fence, a yard, a tree. And when the neighborhood hadn't torn it up, we had a volleyball net or a basketball court. But there was an inventiveness and a willingness to go out and play and get after it. Today, it's not the same. I mean, I live in the city, so it's even a little more of a challenge unless we go to the park. I noticed how my influence on education, how my children's influence on education from their mother as well, has become a top priority for them, and they excel exceptionally well, exceptionally well. And that's great, but what I'm realizing is that as much as getting straight A's is wonderful, it's also easy. And what I mean by easy is if you do the work, you're going to get the results. It's that simple. But what I realize is even more important is that while that's happening, and I'm happy that that's happening, and I'm pleased that that's happening, I'm deeply disappointed as a parent that I've not spent more time developing their emotional side so that they can bloom into who they really are. Because, quite frankly, materializing or bringing to surface who they really are and discovering that and living out of that is far more important than an A will ever be, right? Because us adults and parents know When you go to work, they don't care what your grades were. It's irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, how many dropout billionaires do we have now? And not that being a billionaire is the goal, but that the right education is what's essential. So here and now, I find myself in a little fight of will, of emotion, and ultimately of trust. Saying, no, I get you don't want to take the opportunity that's in front of you that might cause you to be a little bit uncomfortable. Pardon me. But I got to make you take it anyway because I'm your dad. I'm not ashamed to do that. I'm disappointed that I have to do it that way. And not in my child, but in myself. Because whereas this is an opportunity to grow, and I'm definitely going to do it. That's not even a question. I missed opportunities to seed this type of development so that there was an eternal desire for themselves when they were younger. So I've not lost hope. I'm not beating myself up, anything like that at all. But I'm thinking about how essential it is that we fight for them for their own dreams. Like, literally, if we don't fight for them when they don't know how to believe in themselves yet, who will? The reality that I'm seeing is that if I don't fight for them now and push them against their own will to do something that they've expressed they want to do or help them stay committed to it till the end, then they will never, never is a strong word, they may not ever develop that on their own, the will, the desire to fight for themselves, to do the hard work of getting past your fears, your emotions, your blocks, your pains, your turmoil, your anticipations, your peers, the embarrassment that you think you'll experience and never becoming who they really are. Like, think about your peers now. Like, how many people do you know will never fully materialize because they're stuck because of something that happened in their past? I'm realizing in this moment that this is time for me to fight. For me to fight on their behalf, to push them so that they don't wake up one day and go, I wish I could have, I should have, darn. And then blame the world for why they didn't succeed. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, how did you get your nudge? How did your parents move you from a place of where you felt comfortable to a place of where you needed to be successful? And that's the goal, right? So I have this limited window of time to play chess with them, not control, but strategize. So embodiment of it within themselves. And that's what I'm trying to do now. That's where I find myself going, all right, cool. So emotionally, you're going to be mad at me because I'm about to make you do something that you don't like at all, but it's 100% positive. Because it forces introspection, because it's exposure to something greater, because it's an exposure to others who are your age, who are similar to you, that have been exposed perhaps over a longer period of time of the possibilities of actually living and what it's like. Think about it. I'm literally saying and realizing I'm about to become enemy number one for however long a period of time bitterness or upset or frustration will occur. But I don't care. I don't care because I know how amazing my kids are. Like, amazing, amazing, amazing. I need them to know it. Because until they know it, it's irrelevant, right? So they can gather all the tools, they can gather all the knowledge, they can gather all the credentials, but until they know who they are, doesn't really matter. I know several adults right now. I look at them and I know they're amazing, but because they don't know it yet, they're living beneath their privilege for the sake of feeling comfortable. But see, here's what I watched growing up. I watched my father on two fronts. One, I watched him do the traditional thing and watch it be pulled right from under him. I watched him be laid off time after time because of the automotive industry and its changes. He was dedicated, he was educated, he was gifted, he worked hard, he made sacrifices for work, and then it'll be taken away. For whatever the reason was. I'm not mad, I'm not upset. I'm just saying he did the right things, yet they weren't secure. So I realized I can't build my life relying upon someone else to provide me with the security I desire. And if I'm working for someone else, then that's what I'm doing. If I'm not materializing and manifesting who I am, then that's what I'm doing. And I realize that my children are being conditioned very similarly unless I pull the plug or nudge, I should say, them into a new arena to begin to understand who they are, so that no matter what happens in their job per se, they're resilient and they can remanifest and not be broken and not lose themselves. The other thing my father did really well, and my mother did through example, my father did really well through a nurturing process, is he kept audio tapes, books in front of us that challenged us to grow past who we were into who we really wanted to be and become. So much so that I am literally so sold on what I want out of life, I won't sacrifice anything to not have it. Because I get what some consider stability is hell for me. Because it's not what I really want. So how do I move my kids into a place where they understand that what they truly desire in their soul is far more important than what they can get by walking out the door? Right? Like, it's not enough to know that they can just have whatever that baseline is walking out the door when there's a dream rumbling on the inside of them. And it's my job as their dad to make sure that they're uncomfortable with letting the dream rumble on the inside for stability on the outside. And I'm not asking them to be irrational. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the something greater, right? Because it's easy to be a robot. That part's easy. Anyone can do that. I'm out here driving on 94 in Chicago, and I'm looking at all of us driving to and fro, most of us going to a job, coming from a job, being controlled by a job, and a job is not the worst thing in the world. There's so many people without employment. I do understand that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the hunger. I'm talking about purpose. I'm talking about the thing that creates, that's within all of us by design for each of us individually to be amazing. I don't think it's happenstance for us to be here. I don't think it's accidental that you have the dreams and desires you have on the inside of you. I think those dreams and desires on the inside of you are designed to impact the world around you. And when manifested, everyone in your world benefits because you chose to stand up, go against the current, and be you. And as a result, we reward you. We celebrate you for that. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about when it comes to my kids. I don't care if they get a good education and get a good job, if they're not living what's on the inside of them to do in this life. And I feel like that's what we have to fight for. And if we don't do it, we're not only doing our children a disservice, we're doing the world a disservice. We're doing the universe a disservice. So do whatever it takes. It's my perspective. Fight for your kids. That's your job. You're a parent. They're not gonna like everything that we want them to do. They're not supposed to. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm the modern dad that wants them to be like, yes, Father, what you're saying makes perfect sense. And although I'm afraid, I'm gonna do it because I trust you. It's not likely. It's not likely. It's just unrealistic, right? I wish I'd have did that every time my father wanted to do the same thing with me. But because he forced me through exposure, I can't sleep at night if I'm not pursuing the thing in me that gives me life. I literally can't sleep thinking about being average because I know that's not what I am, nor what I'm meant to be. Nor are you, nor is your child. So what are you going to do? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for the best opportunities possible that could potentially have the deepest impact. I'm going to make the sacrifices necessary, and I'm going to put my children there. And I'm going to pray to God that at least one phrase said during those times will be a catalyst, an igniter for them to live the rest of their lives, for them to be inspired by. Because when I listen to their music, when I think about what's around us, yeah, it's easy to be average. They're just not. Thanks for hanging out with me today, listening to me rant and rumble. This is kind of stuff that we got to talk about as fathers. Because if we don't, they won't know how. Peace.